All right, welcome to X-Plane 11. This is the basically default out-of-the-box version of the game. No plugins, no visual modifications, nothing. And today we are in Cusco, Peru, and we are going to fly to the northeast to check out the default Machu Picchu. I have done this flight already, so I do know what it looks like, but I wanted to try to fly to each of the 7 wonders just basically to see what they looked like in X-Plane 11, if they had the actual ruins, in this case, statue for Christ the Redeemer, and so on. So unfortunately, I do know what to expect here, but it's a really cool flight, and especially with this Cessna 172, we get really close to the surface ceiling of this plane. Not going to use air traffic control, not going to use any navigation stuff, just going to fly it by sight. Should be pretty interesting. I don't think this is a flight you'd want to do in real life. As you'll see, it's pretty crazy, the terrain that you've got to traverse even in the air to get to Machu Picchu. I think if you were to get there in real life, you've got to take like a 3-hour train ride and then a couple-hour hike. I think those are the numbers to actually get to the ruins. So, I mean, it's like a half a day just to get there, check it out, and then a half day back. So I am going to guess that it is not legal to actually fly over the site in a plane. But if you could, it's a pretty crazy looking route that you've got to take. Especially in a plane like this. It's about 50 miles, I think, from Cusco if you flew straight there, which is not possible. We've got to wiggle our way through a ravine to get to the actual site, but 50 miles, so it's probably going to be a little bit more than that. And we do have to climb quite a bit to get to the location to get into the ravine. And again, there is no modifications to X-Plane here. We're just going to get the heck out of here. And it looks like it's kind of windy. So this will be a pretty short takeoff. I am not a pilot. I have flown a number of times in small private planes, but I am definitely not a pilot. So part of me wanting to do this, well, there are actually a couple of reasons. The first one is it was a way to get my wife to kind of learn how the simulator works, learn like the basics of flying, and play computer games, I guess. The other reason was I wanted to kind of learn the basics of navigation. So I have flown before, I've controlled a small airplane, so I've done that in real life. I know how it works, I've experienced that, but what I have never done is learn how to navigate. I do have a goal of eventually getting my pilot's license and, owning a small private plane. This was just a really, obviously much cheaper, easier way to do it. So I will be doing a bunch of stuff wrong on this flight that you normally wouldn't, a pilot that knew what he was doing wouldn't do. But I wanted to see if I could do it with even the tiny bit of knowledge and skill that I have. So I did fly from LAX down to Lima, and then from Lima to Cusco. So I'm trying to do this 7 Wonders of the World tour, the full distance. So no cheating with just landing or starting out at the nearest airport and flying and then coming back and then moving on to the next one. So I'm actually flying from point to point. Those flights are hours and hours and pretty boring, so I didn't record any of those, but this one in particular, after I did it for the first time, I thought that it would be kind of cool to share what it took to fly from Cusco to Machu Picchu. The scenery is really cool, even for the default X-Plane 11 scenery. Cusco, I would venture to guess, doesn't look like that. It's pretty barren, but once we get into the mountains and some of the plateau areas, it looks pretty sweet. That does not look sweet. That looks weird. But topographically, it gives you kind of a sense for what the surrounding area around the airport looks like. So the airport at Cusco, the runway is at 10,000 feet. I think it was like just under 10,000 feet. Machu Picchu is actually 2,000 feet below that. So it is at 8,000, a couple feet below, I believe. But in order to get there, we have to climb out of this little valley that Cusco is in, that we're leaving right now, as you can see. So we've got to climb out of it, which is where we're heading right now. And then there's some small foothills and a plateau once we get over this ridge that we have to climb over as well. And that gets us to, I think it's like just under 13,000 feet, or excuse me, just under 14,000 feet, which is the service ceiling of a 172. So we just get to the max altitude before we drop into this ravine, and then we lose a lot of altitude in that ravine to get to the actual Machu Picchu site. Tailwind looks like it's definitely slowing down our airspeed, but we're moving pretty good over the ground. Man, those mountains look really cool. The default mountains in this game do look good. Okay, so it looks like we may have made it out of that Cusco Valley, which is behind us there. Probably cut it a little close. We're pretty close to the ground there, but we've got a nice even terrain to the ravine, which I am basically going to aim right for that tallest peak right there. Still climbing. There's that little foothill right in front of us, and I'm going to want to give us some more room to that rather than flying around it. I think probably in real life you'd want to fly around that little hill to that little valley in between right there, but it's kind of fun getting close to the ceiling, the surface ceiling of this plane. So we're gonna keep climbing 500 feet per minute. Airspeed's picked up a lot since we've kind of slowed down the climb. And we just kind of wait. I have no idea what route the train that you would take to get there by land, but I think it's probably kind of in that direction, a more direct shot than we're able to go because of that mountain range, because it's definitely not going the same route we are. That ravine is pretty insane. I can only imagine what that thing looks like in real life. So we're at 13,000, coming up to 300 feet now. Speed's pretty good at 80 knots. Plane's flying nice and level. And in fact, let's check it out. This thing looks awesome from the outside. It looks and sounds cool. Drifted a little bit. So just bring it back. Back to the north. So now you can start to see where that ravine is. There's that little shadowed area right there. So that's the other side of the ravine, and we're basically going to fly right into this trough right here. Not necessarily drop into it, but we are going to have to lose a lot of altitude, because right now we're 5,000 feet above where Machu Picchu is. And when you look down at the ground and see kind of how close it is, frankly, we're 5,000 feet above the ruin site. So we do have to lose a pretty significant amount of altitude to get close. But that makes the return trip pretty sketchy, trying to climb out of that. Sketchy but doable. Okay, I think we are over that little hill, which we are, just over that lake below us. So I'm going to put the nose down a little bit, get some speed going. I can only imagine what this would do to a 172 engine being just totally stressed out at this high altitude. I mean, we're just at full throttle the whole time. Not over revving it, but I mean, we're at max lean, full throttle, pretty much pegged. This will at least give us a little boost of speed so we get there a little quicker. So we got it up to like 13,700, which is 300 feet below the service ceiling of this plane, and you can see the surrounding mountains and foothills. I mean, we're not really close to even reaching any of these peaks, except maybe these foothills right to our left here. Probably just about 14,000. This is a super high mountain range. And Cusco in particular, I mean, that's 10,000 feet is insane for a city. And I've heard that the hotels give you oxygen tanks because so many people get lightheaded from the altitude. Okay, we're getting close to this ravine. We get basically right on the lip, and then make a fun little dive down in there, which is probably super not advised in real life, but it's kind of fun. Okay, getting close. See the super sketchy, totally not legit river graphic there. That's the Urubamba River. At least that's the mispronunciation of it. So we just have to follow this until we get to where the movement site is. Let's get in there a little bit. Let's tie it down. Super not legit, but fun. Revving the crap out of this purple engine. I've pulled back on the power. Probably like half throttle, maybe a little bit more, but still that was a pretty steep climb for this thing. And now we just have to stop from pinballing along the walls of the ravine here. Oh, look at the graphics right there. That is not legit right there. This game definitely looks good from high altitude. The closer you get, the grosser it looks. But considering that you can fly seamlessly without any load screens or anything, anywhere in the world, I give it a huge pass. That being said, that road that is just drawn on the side of the mountain, it looks so stupid. God, look at that. What the hell is that? I'm assuming that that is based off of an actual road that's on the edge of this river, but good lord, that looks terrible. Okay, we're in like super sketch land right now. Okay, now there is a fork here, and I'm going to quickly check our map and confirm that I am going to the right. Because I believe that this going to the left takes you just to a dead end ravine. I hope I have that right. Let's check really quick. No, I do not have that right. This is where knowing what you're doing would definitely come in handy. There is a fork in the river that you have to stay right. That was not it. That would have sucked. We got our airspeed pretty low on that little F up. And we've dropped it down to about 9,000 feet, just over 9,200 feet. And I don't think I want to go any lower than that by much. 9,000 is probably the minimum, considering the ruin site is at 8,000, so it gives us 1,000 feet to play with. Look at those beautiful textures. I don't think this terrain was ever intended to be flown. Over that road. I need to look up after this if that is an actual road, if there is a road there, because that would be pretty funny. It's a cool little glacier up there. You can see that. Hey, keep an eye on the airspeed. This thing was equipped with a G1000. It would be absolutely screaming terrain at me right now. Okay, here is the fork that I mistook the other one for. So I need to stay to the right here. Yep. We're getting pretty close. Stuck in there. There's no way out of that one. Look at that. And I think that just keeps climbing too, so you're gonna run out of altitude real quick. Looks like 9,200, 9,100 feet. It's kind of a sweet spot for obstacle avoidance so far. Could probably get a little bit higher. And in fact, I am going to try to get some altitude around this turn here. So I think this is a really tight one around that point. And if I can cut it, if I've got enough power to get above that, that would be sweet. Should we do it? If not, we got a really tight turn to make, and I don't think that that would be good. So I'm going to cut this, and I am going to remember 9,500 feet as the altitude to get over that. So if we can somehow climb out of... oh, that is a real steep turn. So if we can get up to 9,500 feet from the ruins, that would be ideal. Otherwise, we're going to be really squished down there. Alright, we're getting close. Should be around this corner, I believe. Let's check it. A lot more trees. Okay, so this turn is going to be pretty tight. And we do have to make it, so... hold on to your butts. Keep that nose down. I don't want to bleed off too much speed. And we're going to cut this one really close. That is danger close. Okay, so I guess I was wrong about the location. It is around a couple of more corners. I mean, I know this is not legit, but I would really be interested to hear an actual pilot and find out how not legit this actually is. Okay, there it is right there. That's the site right there. So you can see that they do have the road that leads up to it. I better keep an eye on what I'm doing. You can see right below there, that's the little switchback, twisty road up to the site. And right underneath the wing, put the mouse here, right there, that is the site. And in all the pictures you see facing out over that little peak, that's that peak right there. So, unfortunately, X-Plane does not have a 3D model of the ruins. I'm sure there's a scenery pack or an add-on or something that has it in there, but that's it. That's where it would be. So kind of a bummer when I first got here, but I did like how cool the flight out here was. and I thought it was worth doing again. And I might, you know, if I do find like a good scenery pack or something. Oh, look at that mountain. That's sweet. That's really cool. But yeah, if I do find an add-on that does include the ruins, I would like to do this flight again, maybe with something a little more powerful, and check it out, because that would be cool. It really does give you a sense of, you know, like the relation to Cusco and the mountains, and kind of a feel for geographically what this area is like. And you know, you can look at all the pictures of the ruins, but they're really going to focus on the ruins themselves and not necessarily the surrounding area, what it looks like just around the corner, if you will. And in X-Plane, you can do it. You can check it out. So now we are going to get the hell out of here. I did not put much fuel in this because I wanted to keep it light as possible for obvious reasons. You know, we had a couple of hours worth of fuel, so I went a little bit more than we probably needed, but keeping an eye on the fuel level over there on the left. Everything else looks alright. Haven't blown the engine yet, but we're gonna try. So 9,500 feet, that's what I gotta remember to get to. And this is the part that I need to get there for. So slowing way down here. 6,000 feet per minute. It is definitely struggling right now to get up. But I want as high above 9,500 as possible. And we're just going to be over that. Train looks pretty cool from here on this level, at this level. Those rocks look cool. Okay, so I am going to keep climbing. I've got a little ways before I reach that ledge. So if I can fly over it, I won't have to wiggle my way around. You can see on the map, the kind of just following that ravine. But I'm going to try to stay far above it as possible, because now obviously I'm not trying to reduce altitude for the ruins. I'm trying to gain altitude in order to make it over that plateau back to Cusco, and that was about 12,000 feet, I believe, maybe a little bit less. So I've got some work to do to climb out of that, but right now I look pretty safe for the surrounding hills. Shouldn't be too bad of a problem. So the first time I did this flight, I did not climb like I'm doing now initially. So I came back below that 9,500 foot mark, and I had to do some insane turns right back there that do not know if that would have been possible in real life. Probably not. But I did it. pretty good now. Just keep an eye on where this ravine's at to make sure we don't take a wrong turn. Man, that terrain's awesome. That is crazy. Okay, still dropping a little bit. I want to try to maintain 500 feet per minute. That seems to be an aggressive but still doable climb. So I don't obviously want to drop too much airspeed and risk stalling where I have absolutely no way out. But I also want to keep some ground speed going too. And I want to stay high. Get as much altitude as possible. Coming up on 11,000. Let's check our progress here. Probably about a little bit less than halfway back to the plateau. Get a little bit steeper, dropping below that 500 foot per minute mark, which for those of you who know less than I do about this even, that is the vertical speed. So it's in 100 feet per minute. So when it's at the 5, we're climbing at 500 feet per minute. Yeah, if you're even like mildly interested in learning how to fly, learning the basics, learning, you know, what the instruments mean, X-Plane 11 is a phenomenal tool. You know, and all the stuff that I read, you know, I was going back and forth between X-Plane 11 and FSX, Flight Simulator, which is like 10 years old, or maybe even more. X-Plane 11 is still based on older engines, but it's a much newer than FSX is. So that's why I went with X-Plane, because it was a little bit newer, but it's really, really cool. There's some graphical enhancements you can do. There's a ton of plane add-ons, airport add-ons. It's completely customizable. I mean, you could dedicate an entire PC just to this game and easily fill it up with planes and scenery packs and airports and all kinds of plugins. But I wanted to experience the sim. I almost called it a game, which it's not. I wanted to experience the sim kind of out of the box first. And then once I got the hang of flying it, what kind of planes I like and don't like, where I like to fly, what kind of airports I like to fly, then I'll start, you know, buying some add-ons and getting some graphical enhancements. Some people really like to do commercial flying, you know, 757s, 737s, and, you know, almost role play being an airline pilot. I don't know if that's what I want to do. I do like the general aviation, the small plane flying. Like I said before, I really want to learn how to navigate. So all of this stuff, the, you know, VOR, the GPS, being able to, you know, dial in a frequency for a VOR and learn how to fly to it using the instruments. That kind of stuff, I think, you know, if I'm really serious about learning how to fly, if I can get a head start on some of the base knowledge on that, that would be really cool. And this is obviously a much cheaper way of doing that than renting a plane or just going out and trying to get my pilot's license. And it's like $8,000 to get your pilot's license, and then you don't even, after that, you don't even have a plane to fly. Obviously you can rent planes pretty easily, but the fantasy is definitely to own the plane and be able to fly wherever you want, obviously within reason for the plane. This thing, you're not going to do too many Pacific crossings in a 172, but you could still have some fun. Okay, we're still slowly climbing out. We're now at 12,000 feet and climbing. Oh, not climbing yet. Out and climbing. And we've got the plateau right in front of us. And if we look back at the map and the trace, we can kind of see we did follow the same route roughly, but it was much smoother because we maintained a higher altitude through that ravine. Which I guess if I was to do this again for the third time with like a graphical enhancement, I would probably stay higher the whole way and then get to here where it looked like it was a pretty decent sized valley, and then just get rid of some altitude there instead of while flying in the ravine. That was probably really stupid, but it was fun. It's kind of cool to take those tight turns. Again, not a realistic approach, a fun approach, but I probably won't do that again. Because right now, this is much better than trying to like hurry and climb out of this thing at this point, which is what I did the first time. So now we will just be able to still got to gain some more altitude to get back into that Cusco Valley. But right now this is much easier. I can kind of cut the corner here a little bit, which I will do. I will start turning a little bit south, which we'll be able to see on the map here. You can see that I'm kind of cutting this corner here where I took a little bit wider line in. In case we need it. We know where Cusco is, but we might need a quick little glance. So we're at 12,300. Still climbing. 250 feet per minute. I think that is probably the wind pushing us. Maybe. I could be wrong. I'm probably wrong, actually. Okay, so we are aiming for, let's zoom in here. I am going to aim for basically right here. That's where the valley is at its lowest. I could cut this corner here, but I think we're going to be quickly running into our service ceiling. So the easiest approach would be, safest approach, taking it as realistically as possible, would be to kind of cut over here at the highest and then drop down, and that'll set us up nicely for the runway. Which we will be definitely landing to the east, since that wind was pretty heavy coming from the east. I will admit that I do suck at landings. I haven't quite gotten the feel for like the last 10 feet is tough. And in a simulator, when you're looking at a two-dimensional screen and you're not able to, kind of glance out the window, look down, and get a 3D feel for where you're at in relation to the ground. And I think X-Plane does have a ground effect mechanic in it. So once you get to that like 10 feet or so, you start running into that ground effect. So you need to kind of force the plane down a little bit as you flare. I mean, I've had some like hard landings in this game initially. Kind of naive, thinking that since I've landed a plane in real life, that this should be a piece of cake. And unless I'm crazy, and I would love to hear another opinion on this, but landing a plane in the simulator is harder than it is in real life, given the 3D, the lack of 3D depth. I would love to see what this is like in VR. I think it would be a game changer in VR, and might come closer to replicating that sensation of where the ground is. So right now it's really tough, but we're gonna try it. We will have a pretty steep approach over this ridge. The flight that we took from Lima to Cusco, we got a little bit lost. Again, I do not have a good depth of knowledge of navigation yet, so we had to do a little hunting towards the end of the flight to make sure we found the runway. It's buried in that valley, so the visual was not possible until you're almost on top of it. But when you're landing to the east, as you'll see, we're going to come up to a hill with, it looks like it's probably like a residential area, facing the east, facing the valley with the runway in it. And you've got to get down to hit that 3-degree glide slope pretty quick. And once you get past that hill, it levels out and you can, have a more traditional glide slope. But that initial drop into the valley is pretty cool. It's nice and steep. So I'm going to try to not rely on the map function, the GPS map that gets pulled up, but if we look down here at our nav display, we can see that's the VOR for Cusco, that ZCO, and their SPZO. Let me try this. Sierra Papa Zulu. Off course. God, I'm blanking on the O. You can definitely tell how amateur I am. I'll look it up. Let's do a quick Google search for aviation alphabet. I'm gonna go, oh yeah. Was that like Oscar or something? Oscar. Sierra Papa Zulu Oscar. That is embarrassing that I didn't know that. Making progress. We're getting close. Okay, so let's look at our altitude right now. We are at 13,600 and a bit. We're slowly climbing, but just call it 13,700. The service ceiling of this plane is only 300 feet above us right now. And you can kind of see out here to our left, due east, that is probably about the service ceiling, the top of that little ridge. So we're at 13,700, and I think that's probably enough. The runway at Cusco is 3,000 feet below us, and we are getting pretty close. As I know, this is probably doesn't have any 35 nautical miles. I don't know what that refers to. I wonder if that's 35 nautical miles from the VOR. I don't know if we're tuned to it. But we're pretty close. I mean, we should be seeing the airport here any second, and we have to get down to 10,000 feet quickly. Yep, we're able to see it. It's right there. Right there. Check that out. I'm not going to say we made it, because that would definitely jinx it, but we made it close. Look at that. Okay, we're coming up to 14,000, and now I'm wondering if it's even possible to go over that. We might have to change tactics here. Yep, and in fact we are. I was hoping we were going to be able to fly over this ridge and then drop down to the runway, but we're not going to be able to do that. So what I think is going to have to happen, I don't know what's going to have to happen. I'm just going to make it up, and hopefully it works out. So I'm going to split this valley. Left approach or right approach. There's just like no room on either side. Like if I do a right approach, right final, I'm going over here, and I mean those hills are just right there, and it's gonna have to be to the left, but I mean I'm already pretty left, so I'm gonna keep it as close to 14 until I get to here. I'm gonna come back parallel to the runway, turn base, and then I'm just gonna have to, it's gonna be a steep final. That's what we're doing. This will be interesting. What are we doing on fuel? Alright. What are we doing on altitude? engine maxed out. Look at that. Just totally got it floored. Pedal to the middle. You know what? We're clear. We're clear of that hill. Change of plans. We're going to be able to make it. Bear with me, folks. This is going to be a lot of looking around here for a minute. And of course, the joys of a high wing plane turning to final. We are not going to be able to see much of the runway. Okay, first flaps down. I need to get slower. I need to get much slower. And I need to be able to see where we're going to go. See, look at how... I mean, the ground is right there. I mean, unless unknowingly this is one of those, like, top 10 most dangerous landings, this seems like it's insane. I did not do that right. How are we looking? I think we're looking okay. Second flaps in. And we have no lights that I can see to help us. No pappy lights or anything. There's something right there, but I can't see that enough to... Oh, no, that's another plane. I think we're okay. We're alright, guys. Trying not to be distracted by the insanely sketchy freeway. What the hell is that? Okay. Little bit of crosswind. Slow there. See, there's the ground effect. It just kind of like pops up there at the end. Hey, that wasn't too bad. Huh? I think we could be proud at that landing. We'll check the replay, but I think that was pretty sweet. That was solid. We made it all the way to at least where Machu Picchu is and back in one piece on a beautiful day in X-Plane 11's Cusco. And do not look too hard at the totally glitched out airport that's floating. Eesh. And don't mind the F4 Phantom just chilling. And we're going way fast. We did it. We made it in one piece. Look at that. No tires blew out. No wings were ripped off. The engine didn't blow. Now let's bear with me here for a second while we check out the replay of the landing. X-Plane 11, I don't know how it's doing it, but it saves the entire flight and is immediately rewindable. So you can fly for hours, and then just rewind the thing and rewatch the whole flight. What are we gonna do? How does that view look? Looks alright. Here we come, with the landing light totally not on. I guess we could have added a little realism and played with the lights, but okay. Oh, a little car crash down there. That's nice. Alright, here we go. Here we go, guys. What's it gonna be? It felt good, it sounded good, but was it actually good? Okay, there you can see, like right there, it kind of balloons up. That's the ground effect. Yeah, that wasn't too bad. I'm happy with that. I think we could be proud. We can be proud of that landing. Any landing you can walk away from, right? Alright, well let's turn this sucker off. And get ready for the next flight. Thanks for joining me.